Shadow of the Tomb Raider is right around the corner, and while at the outset it might look really familiar,
I still have so many questions.
there's some stuff that you should definitely know before taking the plunge. So here are 10 things you need to know before picking up Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Starting off with number 10, let's talk about the stealth stuff. The modern Tomb Raider games have always had a pretty sizable stealth element, but there's definitely more of an emphasis on it in this one. Whereas previous games in the series had you creeping through bushes and sneaking up on dudes pretty simply through ledges and trees, Shadow of the Tomb Raider adds new mechanics like covering yourself in mud to avoid detection, as well as the ability to creep along vine and brush covered walls and surfaces to sneak past enemies right in plain sight, while closing the gap for more stealth kills. It's really Predator Rambo, and it seems like a pretty badass addition to the game. Along with that, encounters are said to just give you a bit more freedom. The game apparently gives you a bit more choice in the options to run and hide after you're spotted. That's what they've said. I don't know exactly how they'd change that from previous games until I get my hands on it, but we'll have to wait and see. Next, at number 9, let's talk about the story. Shadow of the Tomb Raider picks up 2 months after the events of the previous game, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Lara has been hot on Trinity's heels, trying to make their job a living hell, thwarting their plans left and right wherever she can. At this point, Lara is in Mexico on an expedition to uncover a Mayan relic that is somehow related to her father's research. And lo and behold, of course, Trinity shows up, shoots everyone, messes up the whole plan, and then there's also this clash of ideals with one of the supposed leaders of Trinity, and without spoiling things, some shit goes down. With all that happening in motion, Lara and Jonah set off to try and change the world. It's really Tomb Raider as hell, but that's fine. I mean, what else can you expect? There's a dash of new character building with Lara coming to grips with her obsession that could get interesting, but we'll get to that a bit later in the video. At number 8, you need to know that Shadow of the Tomb Raider will feature a new hub in a new location, and this one will apparently be the biggest in the series to date. This new area, the hidden city of Paititi, is divided up into districts and serves as the game's primary hub and is filled with NPCs to talk to flesh out the world, merchants to barter with and trade items with a new barter system, and a slew of quest givers standing around to point you in the direction of the game's various side activities to really learn about the world, explore, earn new items, and level up Lara and gain new abilities. The previous 2 Tomb Raider games have been filled with sad, almost kind of lifeless little survival villages, so I'm curious to see how much of a vibrant city really shakes things up. Now at number 7, changing gears, as far as accessibility options go for this game, there's actually quite a few, and it's pretty impressive. For starters, the difficulty settings have been removed, so instead of just having an easy, normal, hard difficulty scheme, you can actually tweak the difficulty of combat, puzzles, and exploration traversal independently. So if you have a hard time with combat but still want a really challenging, brain-busting puzzle and traversal experience, you can tailor the experience to your needs. I think that's pretty interesting. Just as someone who studies and talks about games all the time, I'm curious to see how this difficulty system is actually going to work out mechanically. Also, for possibly disabled folks who use different types of controllers, you can replace the standard button mashy QuickTime events with the option to just hold a button down, and there's also a slew of language and subtitle options as well. It's really nice to see the developers make an effort to add more choices to open it up to more players. Because piggybacking off of that with number 6, we got more options for immersion. Some people want a fun blockbuster video game and just want to be along for the ride, and others want a really immersive experience, and thankfully you can seemingly get both in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. For starters, there are options to remove things like glowing hints and the like, as well as removing environmental context clues for traversal and exploration. The game, like the previous games, can seem pretty easy from the outset, but it gives you the ability to take away some of those options, which I like. An interesting example in the previous games where there was the white mark on the wall where you could double tap the jump button to kind of scurry up it. But by turning on these specific difficulty options, you can get rid of them and allow for a more immersive exploration experience where you gotta really think outside the box. What I really like, I think is cool, is that you can choose an immersive language option, which allows NPCs to speak in their native languages with subtitles, which is a really nice touch. If you're into nerding out on that stuff, I guess kind of like Lara Croft, the ability to do that is really cool. Now at number 5, let's talk about graphics real quick and talk about specifically the NVIDIA RTX stuff. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was one of the first games used to showcase the newest generation of NVIDIA's graphics technology with the RTX line of cards. As such, the game is one of a handful to support real-time ray tracing out of the gate. And for layman's terms, that basically takes advantage of the newest lighting and shadows technology for the most realistic out there. In addition to that, the game is also on the short list of games to take advantage of NVIDIA's deep learning super sampling technology, which is said to give give image quality enhancements by using the Turing sensor cores to better smooth out sharp edges and elements to really just generally produce a better image. The last Tomb Raider games have been pretty great demonstrations of new tech, from upgraded consoles to hair effects, so we'll see if Shadow can keep that trend up. It seems like if you're playing on PC, you have a lot to look forward to. At number 4, with things having an apocalyptic vibe to the game, Lara is said to take a darker tone in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and according to statements made at the Tribeca Film Festival by the game's lead writer Jill Murray, Lara will be, and I quote, fighting not to become the enemy she hates, and in many cases, we may see the enemy in herself. She's going to make a lot of mistakes and deal with a lot of complicity. Depending on your perspective, a hero can also be a threat, and in this game, Lara has to decide which path she's going to choose. This tone carries over to the gameplay, where Lara will viciously take down her enemies in gruesome and incredibly violent ways. What we've noticed in gameplay previews is that she now has a giant, nasty Rambo combat knife, and she has no problem just literally placing it into dudes' heads. The previous 2 games did have moments of real gore and brutality, but Lara feels like a vicious killer now, thanks to new animations. Whether or not the story will actually directly acknowledge some of that, we're gonna have to wait and see. But it sounds like it's good so far. Coming down to number 3, it's worth knowing that once you finish the story, Shadow of the Tomb Raider will offer the option to jump back in with a New Game Plus mode, something that a lot of us here really freaking dig. Choosing New Game Plus mode will obviously start you back at the beginning, but with all of your acquired skills, weapons, upgrades, gear, and outfits. And it'll also unlock 3 new paths that you can unlock based on your playstyle, be it stealth, combat, or traversal focused. The new paths will unlock these new rewards that complement that specific playstyle, as well as unique weapons and outfits. This should work out well with the larger environments and more challenge tombs that were totally our favorite things from the previous games, and honestly, anything that adds up to more replayability, I am all about, so nice. Now coming down to number 2, we have to grind out some future plans and some DLC content. There's a season pass, and it'll include 7 new pieces of content called paths. Square Enix said that each new path adds new narrative, mission, challenge teams, weapons, outfits, skills, and one of each being exclusive to the season pass. Now all that is well and good, but the real interesting bit comes in the reveal that some of the new challenge teams will feature co-op play, which is a first for the series. I honestly can't really imagine what that'll be like at all, but we'll have to just wait and see, I guess. Really, generally, the Baba Yaga DLC from the last game was solid stuff worth revisiting, so I really hope they can keep that trend up here. But at number 1, as always, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is dropping September 14th, 2018 for PC, Xbox One, and PS4. Switch just isn't in the cards for this one, so if you were pulling for that, time to figure out a different choice because they've said it ain't happening. And as for how the PC version goes, they recommend an Intel Core i7 at 3.4 GHz, or the AMD Ryzen 5 1600 3.2 GHz, 40 gigs of available space, and NVIDIA GTX 1060 6 gig, or AMD Radeon RX 480 8 gig. And obviously, like we mentioned earlier, you get added benefits with the newer RTX cards. Generally, we're curious to get our hands on the game, and we're interested to see what you guys think. We're looking forward to it as seemingly the end of a Tomb Raider Origin trilogy, and we'll have more videos soon. So we want to hear from you guys down in the comments how you're feeling on Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Any perspective, any insight into the gameplay, where the story is going to go. We're curious to see what you guys think. If you enjoyed this video and maybe learned something, clicking the like button does help us out. We do appreciate it. And if you are new, you should consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.